Justin, I'm not happy. I want a divorce. Her words hit me hard. I can't say I didn't see it coming, though. After almost 20 years of marriage, I'd noticed Ashley had been spending a lot of time with her friend Carol, probably too much time, to be honest. Carol, who saw herself as some sort of relationship expert, had somehow earned Ashley's trust, even though her own track record included 3 failed marriages. In Ashley's eyes, that made Carol the perfect authority. Justin, are you listening to me? I said I want a divorce, she repeated, her voice sharper this time. I took a deep breath and let her words sink in. Yeah, Ashley, I heard you, I replied calmly, but I'm not going to make any rush decisions. I've tried to be a good husband and father, and as far as I knew, things between us were fine, even in the bedroom. So I have to ask, what went wrong? I let the silence sit for a moment before continuing. If this marriage isn't making you happy anymore, as much as it hurts me to hear it, I'll respect your choice. But tell me, has this been on your mind for a while, or is this something new? She barely paused before answering. It's been building up for a while now. I need some space, Justin. I need to figure out who I really am, maybe meet some new people. Her words felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced them in front of a mirror. I think, she added, the courts require us to be legally separated for 90 days before filing for divorce. Who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind before then, and we won't even need to go through with it. I nodded slowly, remembering stories from others who'd gone through something similar. So, during this 90-day separation, we can both see other people without it being considered cheating, right? And then, if one of us still wants out, we can go ahead with the divorce, no matter what the other person wants. It was like a light bulb turned on for her when she realized I'd have the same freedom she was talking about. So, if I file first, I'd have the same ability to decide if we stay married or not, right? I asked. For the first time, she hesitated. I guess that's true, she muttered, surprised. I thought I was clear about wanting the divorce. Look, Ashley, I said, trying to stay calm, I don't want a divorce. But if this is the route you want to take, I won't stop you. To be fair, though, I'll file too. That way, we're both on equal footing. Her eyes widened. Wait, does that mean you actually want a divorce now? She asked, shocked. Not really, I said. But it's clear I've failed in some way as your husband, and I'm not going to hold on to something that isn't working for you. For a moment, her expression softened, but she didn't apologize. Instead, she said coolly, You've been a great husband, Justin, but I want something different, new experiences, more freedom. A separation would give me the chance to explore that. Ashley, I said quietly, my voice thick with emotion, if there's something you need that I can't give, then I guess I was never enough for you. The words hung in the air, heavy and bitter. After a pause, I added, Tell me, have you already talked to a lawyer? She waved off my concern like it wasn't important. Not yet, but I'm planning to meet with Harry Babcock. Carol recommended him, said he's great. There it was again, Carol's influence all over this. I couldn't help but smirk to myself. Well, I think I'll call my cousin Madison to take care of my side, I said, sounding casual. Ashley made a face, clearly displeased. Ugh, Madison? She's hard to deal with, Justin. Maybe, I shrugged, but she's loyal, and she's an amazing lawyer. She'll fight tooth and nail for her clients. I remembered a time at a family party when Madison, a little tipsy, said she'd represent me for free if I ever needed it. Looks like I'm going to take her up on that offer, I said, half joking, but feeling too exhausted to laugh. All right, I said, turning a page in my notebook. Let's plan to start the separation at the beginning of the month. That gives us both time to get things in order. Ashley nodded, but looked confused. Why does it matter when we start? Isn't the whole point of a separation just to try living apart? Exactly, I said, but without a plan, we could end up with an even bigger mess. Think of it like a trial run, a way to figure out if this is really what we want. She hesitated for a moment before saying, Okay, maybe. I hadn't really thought about it that way. I left her to think while I went to the kitchen to make some coffee and jot down a few notes. By the time she joined me, I was already writing things down. There's a lot to sort out, I said, glancing up. Let's start with the kids. Her expression darkened. What do you mean? I explained. We need to decide how we're going to tell them. They have to know this isn't their fault, and we need to be on the same page about it. Ashley bit her lip, looking uneasy. I don't know, Justin. I don't think they'll take it well. Maybe we should wait the 90 days and see where things stand first. I shook my head, already seeing where her thinking didn't quite add up. The girls are going to notice something's off. We owe it to them to be honest and reassure them. I suggested that Ashley stay in the house during the separation to keep some normalcy for the girls. Maybe we could spend time together occasionally to help make the transition easier for them. But Ashley quickly shot that idea down. How are we supposed to date and live our own lives if we're still sharing the same house, Justin? One of us will end up feeling bitter when the other goes out. Besides, the whole point of this is to see what life apart would really be like, not just more of the same. She had a point. I couldn't deny that it would confuse the girls if they saw either of us with someone new. We both agreed that we had to approach this carefully, especially when talking to the kids. They needed to understand that we still loved them, even if our marriage was ending. We also agreed that counseling for the kids might be necessary, although we hoped their natural resilience would help them adjust. Trying to lighten the mood, I joked that if Ashley and I ended up with new partners, the girls would get extra grandparents, which might mean more presents at Christmas and their birthdays. But the reality of splitting holidays quickly sobered us up. Birthdays, Christmases, Thanksgivings. Each of those events would need careful planning from now on. Then, I brought up something even more awkward: discretion. If either of us starts seeing someone new, we need to keep that outside the house, I said firmly. Especially when the girls are here. Bringing dates here would just confuse them. I could see from Ashley's face that she wasn't thrilled, but after a pause, she reluctantly agreed. Next, we had to talk about finances, a subject I knew would come up sooner or later. We're both going to have to adjust to covering our own expenses, I said calmly. It was clear that managing two households was going to be a lot more expensive than sharing one, and Ashley's face showed the weight of that realization. We'll need to split up the assets, close any joint accounts, and set up child support to make sure the girls' lives aren't turned upside down. Ashley sat quietly as I laid everything out, looking stunned by the sheer amount that needed to be done. There's a lot to figure out before we start the separation, I added. I'll look for an apartment closer to work so the girls will be comfortable when they stay with me. I explained how standard visitation works, every other weekend and holidays for the parent who doesn't live with the kids, but I made it clear that wasn't enough for me. I want to stay involved in their everyday lives, I said, not just show up every couple of weekends. Ashley tilted her head and gave me a curious look. I'm surprised you're not already dating, given how much you love spending time with the girls, she said, teasing a little. I'm not in any rush to start dating, Ashley, I replied, brushing off her comment. I'm not planning to disappear from their lives either. But if you're moving on with someone new, you'll have to take on some of the responsibilities I usually handle. We discussed some of the practical challenges. Midweek visits might be tough with school and homework, the hassle of shuttling the girls between two homes, and the fact that my new place might not be on their bus route. Ashley's frustration grew as it became clear I wasn't going to just fade into the background. This isn't how Carol said things would go, she muttered under her breath, clearly annoyed. I could tell she had expected me to just roll over and go along with whatever she and Carol had planned. Instead, she was realizing things weren't going to be that easy. Well, Justin, she said finally, sounding exhausted, I need to sleep on this. I'm going back to bed. Maybe we'll talk more tomorrow. Sure thing, Ashley, I replied, watching as she walked down the hall. But I wasn't ready to call it a night. I need to get a few more things down before I head to bed, I added. As she disappeared into the bedroom, I stayed in the kitchen, writing in my notepad. The next morning, when she came out, I'm sure she thought I had stayed up all night working on our divorce checklist. But instead, she found my notepad on the kitchen table and me asleep in the guest room. While her breakfast cooked, she started flipping through my notes. I titled the list Liabilities to Change and detailed everything we'd need to adjust: the mortgage, homeowner's insurance, utilities, gas, water, electricity, cable, cell phones, garbage collection, internet, even subscriptions like Amazon Prime. I'd thought of everything, even down to car payments and memberships. The amount of work was clearly annoying her. On the next page, I'd written out projected expenses for my apartment and child support, with the goal of maintaining the girl's lifestyle. The numbers weren't great, showing a gap every month. I'd even included ideas to save money, like cutting out my trips to Waffle House and Starbucks, small sacrifices I was ready to make. But Ashley had added her own expenses next to mine. Her gym membership, a women's group she'd joined, eating out more often. It didn't look like she planned to cut back at all. I'd also listed all the household tasks I usually handled. Refueling the car, calling the plumber, fixing the heater, mowing the lawn, grocery shopping, things Ashley would have to take over now. She stared at the list, clearly annoyed, muttering to herself, "Why isn't Justin doing what he's supposed to? Why won't he just give me what I want?" Soon, I heard her whispering into her phone. "Hey, Carol, it's me," she said quietly, trying not to wake me. "Justin's asleep in the other room, so I can talk." Carol's voice came through, excited and cheerful. "How'd it go? Did he agree to do whatever it takes to keep you?" Instead of sounding triumphant, Ashley sounded frustrated. "No," she muttered. "He actually agreed to the divorce without putting up a fight. Then he spent all night making lists of everything I'd have to take care of if we go through with it." Her voice dropped lower, but I could still hear her frustration. "Justin's already planning to move out and live like we're divorced. He's insisting we treat the 90-day separation like a real trial to see if this is what we want." It seemed Carol's vision of a smooth, one-sided divorce wasn't turning out the way Ashley had hoped. "He doesn't even seem upset about the divorce," Ashley confessed, her voice tinged with frustration. "It's making me wonder what my next move should be. I really thought he'd be crushed." "Oh, Ashley," Carol said with a dismissive laugh. "He's bluffing. This is just his way of trying to manipulate you, to make you feel like you can't do this without him. All that talk about his contributions, it's just a guilt trip." Carol's tone shifted to something more sly. "Don't forget, you have all the power here. You control two things he cares about, the kids and the bed. Use that to your advantage. Play your cards right, and soon enough, you'll be with Eric, while Justin's left on the sidelines." "I hope you're right," Ashley murmured, though she was still thinking about whether Eric was really worth all this. "Justin hasn't made any big moves yet. I think I'll stay firm and see what he does next." She glanced up and saw Justin starting to stir, so she quickly ended the call. "I have to go, Carol. He's waking up. Talk later." Justin shuffled into the kitchen, looking tired and disheveled. Ashley tried to sound casual. "Hey, want some coffee?" "No, thanks," he said, rubbing his eyes. "Probably not a good idea this late. I barely slept. Why didn't you come to bed?" Ashley paused, studying him. "Why didn't you?" she asked. Justin leaned against the counter, avoiding her gaze. "I needed some air. Took a walk. Honestly, I didn't trust myself." He finally looked up, his expression conflicted. "When I saw you asleep, all I could think about was how beautiful you looked. But I didn't want us to end up in bed together just because you felt sorry for me." Ashley softened her tone. "Justin, we're still married. For now, I'm still your wife. Can't we? I mean, shouldn't we stay together at least until the separation is official?" Justin shook his head slowly, his face heavy with resignation. "I can't pretend everything's fine, Ashley. You've already said you're unhappy. As much as it hurts me, I have to respect that. I promised to give this separation a real chance, and that's what I'm going to do." He sighed deeply, his shoulders sagging. "I just want you to be happy, Ashley, even if that means I'm not the one making you happy anymore." Ashley placed a hand on his arm, her voice soft. "Just because we're separating doesn't mean we'll end up divorced. Can't you give me some time to figure things out? Maybe this space will help us come back stronger." Justin looked skeptical but nodded. "Sure, Ashley. I'd like to believe that, but I'm not holding my breath." He paused, glancing at the clock. "I'm taking the day off to get a head start on things. Billy can handle the work crews. I'll make calls about splitting finances and setting up my accounts." Before she could respond, he added, "And don't worry about the girls. I'll make breakfast and get them to school." Later that morning, Ashley's mood shifted when Eric, her charming coworker, stopped by her office. With his usual flirtatious grin, he suggested they hang out and listen to some music. The attention made her heart race. For a moment, she imagined a life with Eric, but reality quickly set back in. The ongoing separation and the mess of her marriage. When Ashley got home that evening, she noticed small signs that Justin had been there. An empty coffee mug on the counter, a jacket draped over the door. Oddly, it gave her a sense of relief. At least he hadn't packed up and disappeared. All right, she thought to herself, 90 days of freedom. We'll stay married, and I'll figure out how to keep things with Eric quiet. Sitting at the kitchen table, she flipped through Justin's notepad. He'd added a few more tasks to their to-do list, but something else caught her eye, a page titled Possible Women for Today. Her stomach churned as she read the two columns. One labeled women who have already expressed interest, and the other women I'd like to know if they are interested. Her blood boiled when she saw her sister Saren's name at the top of the first column. Fuming, she grabbed her phone and dialed. Saren? What the hell is wrong with you? She snapped as soon as her sister picked up. Are you trying to steal my husband? What are you talking about? Saren shot back, sounding genuinely confused. Justin made a list of women who've told him they'd date him, and guess whose name is right at the top? Ashley growled. Saren sighed, unbothered. Oh, that? I told him once, after a few too many drinks, that if he ever left you, I'd be interested. Honestly, Ashley, he deserves better, especially if you're already thinking about someone else. Ashley froze, stunned. You're serious? You'd actually go after him? Maybe I would, Saren replied coolly. But let me ask you something. What's this about a list? Are things really that bad? Or is Justin already moving on? Ashley stammered. It's not like that. I just told him I needed time to figure things out. Saren snorted. Right. Figure things out. Sounds like someone's already waiting in the wings. So, who is it? Ashley? Eric? Or someone else? There's no one else. Ashley snapped. We're in a 90-day separation to figure out if this marriage is worth saving. Sure, Saren said dryly. Well, just know this. If Justin ends up single, I'll be the first to step in. You're playing a dangerous game, Ashley. Don't be surprised if you lose. Saren hung up, leaving Ashley seething. The thought of her sister swooping in made her skin crawl. She glanced back at the list, her eyes landing on another name. Gloria, Justin's secretary. Young, stunning, and a single mom. Gloria had the kind of fresh energy that made Ashley feel suddenly replaceable. What irritated Ashley even more than seeing Saren's name on the list were the other names. One woman had a bold M next to her name, clearly indicating she was married. The rest were women Ashley recognized from around town, familiar faces she could place. Some worked at Justin's business, others at places he often visited. The Waffle House waitress, the Starbucks barista, the Walmart clerk. Each name made her stomach turn. Ashley had always known Justin's psychology degree gave him a sharp ability to read people, but now she wondered if he'd been examining more than just plumbing while managing his cruise. The realization hit her. He wasn't just passively going along with this separation. He was already planning his next moves, maybe even preparing to move on. As she seethed over this, Justin walked into the kitchen, holding her notes in hand. Her face was tight with anger, and he could feel the storm building. Couldn't waste any time lining up a replacement, could you? Ashley spat, her voice dripping with resentment. And my own sister? Really? Justin didn't flinch. Just keeping up with you, Ashley. You wanted time to meet new people, so I figured I'd take a page from your book. What are you talking about? She huffed defensively. I don't have a boyfriend. I just needed space. Sure. What about Eric Foreman? Justin asked, his eyes locking onto hers with a sharpness that made her stomach drop. Her face faltered. How do you know about him? She shot back, trying to hide her unease. Justin shrugged casually. Ran into Charlotte at Walmart. You know, your boss's secretary? She loves to talk. Don't believe everything she says, Ashley snapped, her mind racing. So, what exactly did she tell you? Oh, nothing much, he replied, a faint smirk playing on his lips. Just that you and Eric seem pretty close. Lunches together almost every day. Him stopping by your office more often than the janitor. He's an old friend from college, Ashley said quickly, brushing it off. We're just catching up. That's all. Justin's expression didn't change. Catching up, huh? Is he one of those new connections you're exploring during the separation? It's not serious, she muttered, her voice quieter now. We've barely done more than talk. He's just someone nice. He compliments me, even on days when I don't feel like myself. Uh-huh, Justin said, clearly unconvinced. Anything else I should know about him? Ashley hesitated, remembering the kiss in the elevator but refusing to acknowledge it. At least he's not married, she said quickly, trying to deflect. Justin raised an eyebrow. Not married? Have you checked his Facebook lately? Her face paled. What are you talking about? Found his profile pretty easily, Justin said, crossing his arms. Go ahead. Check it yourself. She didn't need to check. The sinking feeling in her chest confirmed it. Is this the same Eric Foreman? She asked, her voice shaking slightly. Justin nodded. Yep. And what does it say? Married to Ella. Father of 2. He paused, letting the words sink in. Actually, 3 days ago, his wife posted a family photo. Guess they're not as over as you thought? Ashley's face flushed with a mix of embarrassment and anger. He never told me he was married. I would never knowingly ruin someone's marriage. Justin's gaze didn't waver. But ours is fair game? He might have been the catalyst for her desire to break up, but she couldn't admit that to Justin. He's just one of a few people I'm considering, she deflected. Besides, you've got a list too. Justin rolled his eyes. Fine. If we're both considering dating, we should probably get tested for STDs, just in case. Justin. Ashley snapped, her face turning red. That's disgusting. It's just being practical, he replied coolly. Not something I was planning on needing, but hey, if this is what we're doing. Ashley seethed silently, but Justin shifted the conversation before the tension could escalate further. Anyway, I've made some progress on the separation plans. The first of the month is coming up fast, and there's still a lot to sort out. Bank accounts, finances, all of it. Oh, she said, forcing her voice to sound polite. Justin continued, actually, the big news is about the apartment. Gloria, you know, my secretary, works part-time as a night manager at the Royal Arms Apartments. Turns out, there's a 2-bedroom available near my work. Normally, it would be expensive, but if I agree to help out with some maintenance, I can get a 50% discount. Not bad, right? Ashley felt a tight knot form in her stomach. Not only was Justin ready to move out, but now he had found a situation that made it easy for him to mingle with other single tenants. And Gloria, of all people, would be right in the middle of it. Ashley's eyes narrowed. You haven't signed the lease yet, have you? No, not yet, he replied. But Gloria's already offered to work some things out to make it a short-term lease, just for the 90 days. She's been pretty helpful. Ashley's jaw tightened. I'm sure she has. Justin smirked, sensing her irritation. She even said that if the separation turned permanent, she might step down from her position to avoid a conflict of interest. She told me she'd be open to exploring things with me if the timing worked out. Surprised me. Actually, she's a lot younger than me, and I didn't think she'd see me that way. Ashley clenched her fists, biting back her anger. Well, she said finally, maybe if we stay open-minded, this separation won't have to lead to a divorce. Justin didn't take the bait. We'll see. Oh, and there's one more thing I need to mention. What now? Ashley asked, bracing herself. He looked her directly in the eye. I had 2 tickets booked for Hawaii. 10 days. It was supposed to be a surprise for our 20th anniversary. Ashley's face lit up immediately. Hawaii? Oh, Justin. You know how long I've dreamed of going there. I can already picture the beaches, the ocean, everything. She smiled brightly, her excitement bubbling over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But Justin didn't smile back. His expression remained neutral, almost detached. Well, here's the thing, he started. When you brought up divorce, it hit me that we might not even make it to our 20th anniversary. I tried to cancel the trip, but it was too late, and they only offered a partial refund. Ashley's smile faded. So, no Hawaii? Justin shook his head. Not for us, no. I figured the trip meant more to you than it ever did to me. So, I had them change the tickets to your name and left the second spot open for a guest of your choice. If there's someone new in your life, feel free to take him. It's all expenses paid. Ashley's face changed from shock to dismay. But I wanted to go with you, Justin. Can't we call this separation off? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm not as unhappy as I thought. Justin's voice softened, but his words remained firm. Ashley, I've given this a lot of thought, too. And the truth is, I don't think I can ever forget how quickly you were ready to leave me. Even if you change your mind now, you can't unsay the words or erase the image of you and Eric that's stuck in my head. He swallowed hard. So, I'm moving forward with the divorce. But that doesn't mean I won't be a full-time dad to our girls. He turned and walked upstairs, leaving Ashley sitting frozen in her seat, reeling. For the first time, she felt like she had lost control of the situation. There was only one person she could call. She picked up her phone and dialed, "Carol," Ashley said, her voice breaking. "It's all falling apart. Justin's already found an apartment. His skinny secretary is practically throwing herself at him, and my sister wants to date him. And now, he's giving away our Hawaii trip, telling me to take my new boyfriend instead. What am I supposed to do?" Carol's voice was brisk. "Wait a minute. What's the problem here? You could take Eric and have the time of your life. Sun, surf, and someone who actually excites you." Ashley shook her head, even though Carol couldn't see it. "No, Carol. Eric's married. His wife and kids are moving here soon. I can't go to Hawaii with him. I want to go with Justin." Carol chuckled darkly. "Wow, Justin's smarter than I thought. This whole Hawaii thing? It's not what it seems. He's trying to guilt you, Ashley. He wants you to feel bad enough to back off on the divorce. It's manipulation, plain and simple." Ashley's frustration boiled over. "I never thought he'd pull something like this, but you're right. He's going to regret it. Thank you, Carol. I almost gave in, but not now. Justin's going to pay for this." She hung up just in time to see Justin coming down the stairs with a small suitcase in hand. Her anger surged. "Oh, are we already pretending you're moving out?" she sneered. "Fine by me. Goodbye and good riddance." Justin raised an eyebrow. "Actually, I'm just taking a few things to the apartment ahead of time. Gloria offered to let me move in early since it's already vacant." His voice remained calm, but there was an edge to his words. "Let me guess, you've been talking to Carol?" "Carol's a divorce expert," Ashley snapped. "She understands what I'm going through, unlike you. And she figured out your little Hawaii stunt, too. She knows you're just trying to guilt me into staying, but it's not going to work. I still want the divorce, and I'm going to follow through with it." Justin's expression stayed calm. "You're absolutely right, Ashley. I'm sure you'll find someone else who meets your needs. I always considered myself lucky to have a beautiful wife, a great partner in raising our girls, and, until recently, a loyal spouse." Her face reddened with anger. "Stop with the act, Justin. I know there was no Hawaii trip. It was just another one of your games." Justin tilted his head, unimpressed. "Believe what you want. But if you really think I'm lying, let's settle this." He pulled out his phone and began dialing. "Hi, Nicole? It's Justin Hogarth. My wife's here, and she has some questions about the Hawaii trip. Could you explain the details?" Ashley froze as she heard the voice on the other end. Nicole sounded cheerful and even sympathetic. "Mr. Hogarth, it's good to hear from you. I hope I can help. Mrs. Hogarth, what would you like to know?" Ashley's voice was tight as she asked, "Can you describe what this trip includes?" "Of course," Nicole replied enthusiastically. "It's a 10-day, two-island adventure. You'd stay at top-rated hotels, with all meals, transportation, and activities included. There's even a traditional luau, hula lessons, and options for surfing and snorkeling. It's a romantic package, perfect for couples. Many of our clients say it strengthens their relationships." Ashley tried to keep her voice steady. "When did my husband book this trip?" "Let me check," Nicole said professionally. "Ah, here it is. He made the initial inquiry 3 months ago, finalized it 2 months ago, and paid in full shortly after. He called just yesterday to cancel. Unfortunately, we could only offer a partial refund. I was surprised when he asked to transfer the tickets to your name and suggested you take someone else. He must care about you deeply." Ashley clenched her jaw. Thank you, she managed to say before hanging up. She stared at the floor, her thoughts racing. Justin wasn't lying. He really had planned the trip. And now, she understood that he had turned what should have been an act of love into a final, painful gesture. Ashley's eyes narrowed, and she glared at him. So, you think you've outsmarted me, don't you? You and Nicole came up with this whole Hawaii plan just to make me feel guilty, hoping I'd back off. Well, I've figured you out, Justin. Justin shook his head, looking more exhausted than angry. Ashley, you might want to call your parents. That stopped her dead in her tracks. What do they have to do with this? Who do you think was going to watch the girls while we were away? Justin asked, pulling out his phone. He dialed, and Ashley's mother answered almost immediately. Hello, Justin. How are the girls? She asked warmly. Ashley stepped closer. Hi, Mom, she said hesitantly, unsure of how to handle the situation. Justin put the phone on speaker, and her father's voice joined in from the background. Benjamin, it's Justin and Ashley, her mother called out excitedly. Pick up the phone. Benjamin's voice was curious as he joined. What's going on, you two? Ashley stayed silent, so Justin took over. Well, Ashley knows about the Hawaii trip now, so there's no need to keep it a secret anymore. Oh, son. We're so sorry you can't make it, her mother replied, her sympathy clear in her voice. You didn't explain much when you called earlier. I hope everything's okay. Her father added, we were really looking forward to having the girls here for those 10 days. Ashley, I know how much you wanted this trip. Have you decided who you'll take with you? Ashley's face flushed, and she stammered, No, Mom, I haven't thought about that yet. Trying to regain some control, she asked, when did Justin tell you about this trip? I think it was around New Year's, wasn't it, Benjamin? Her mother replied. He wanted to make sure we had enough time to prepare for the girls. You know how much they love snacks. She chuckled lightly, as though this were just another family conversation. But then her tone grew serious. Justin, she asked carefully, is everything okay with you two? When you called earlier, you seemed off. Did something happen? Ashley, her father pressed, his voice becoming more serious. Are you two splitting up? Ashley struggled to maintain control. Mom, Dad, no, it's not like that. We're just taking some space. A little separation to recharge, and then reconnect. Justin's jaw tightened, and he spoke firmly. I'm not going to lie to your parents, Ashley. They've always been honest with me. Her mother's voice cracked. Ashley, honey, is that true? Are you really starting a divorce? Ashley rushed to calm her down. Mom, please, don't get upset. I just wanted some time to figure things out. To work on myself. For Justin, for the girls, for all of us. Her father wasn't convinced. That's a load of nonsense, Ashley. Is there someone else? Is that why you're doing this? No, Dad, she whispered, her voice barely audible. There's no one else. Her father's disappointment hit her hard. We raised you to value family, Ashley. Don't think for a second we'll be welcoming some new man into our lives. Justin, you're like a son to us. We're so sorry. Just promise us we'll still get to see the girls after all this. Before Justin could answer, Ashley jumped in, desperate to change the direction of the conversation. This is all being blown out of proportion, she said quickly, her voice cracking. I'm taking it all back. No separation. No divorce. I'll call you later, Mom, when things calm down. Justin looked at her with a mix of exhaustion and resolve. Pull yourself together, Ashley. The girls will be home soon. He grabbed his suitcase and moved toward the door. Wait, she said, reaching out. Where are you going? I just said I don't want a divorce. You don't have to leave. Justin turned to face her, his voice steady but firm. You decided you wanted a divorce, Ashley. You didn't talk to me about it, didn't give me a chance. And now, because it's not going the way you planned, you think you can just take it all back? That's not how this works. I have a voice too. And after everything I've learned about you this past week, I'm not sure staying married is the right choice anymore. Ashley's face twisted with desperation. Justin, please don't go. This was a mistake. I know I messed up, but we can put it behind us. Things were good before, weren't they? We were happy. I don't want to lose everything over one bad decision. Justin sighed deeply, his expression unreadable. Maybe we were happy. But I can't forget what you said, that you were unhappy and ready to start something with Eric. Intent matters, Ashley. As far as I'm concerned, that was emotional infidelity at the very least. He paused, his voice sharpening. Madison mentioned she could have the divorce papers ready by tomorrow. You could be served at work, right in front of Eric, if that's the way you want to play it. Her voice turned cold. I won't sign them. Justin shrugged. Doesn't matter. Once you're served, the process moves forward. Maybe your boss should know about you and Eric. I imagine your company has rules about office relationships. Her face went pale. Why are you being so cruel? She whispered, tears brimming. I love you. You love me. Justin's gaze softened just a bit, but his words remained firm. I loved the woman I married. I'm not so sure who you are anymore. With that, he turned and walked out, leaving Ashley standing there, her carefully crafted plans unraveling. For the first time, she realized she might have lost control, for good. Why are you doing this, Justin? Why go to such extremes? Ashley's voice cracked, her desperation palpable. Isn't there anything I can do to fix this? You said yourself that divorce would hurt both of us. Can't we avoid all that pain? Please, just give me one more chance. I swear I'll never bring up divorce again if you stay. Justin remained silent, his expression unreadable. Ashley's heart raced as she clung to the faint hope that he might reconsider. I'll be the best wife, she promised, her words spilling out in a rush. I'll never even look at another man. I've given you 2 beautiful kids, stood by you while you built your business, even when it meant late nights and weekends away. Justin, I'm proud of everything we've built together. Everyone makes mistakes. Please, don't let this be the end. Finally, Justin broke the silence, his voice calm and measured. All right, he said, here's what I'll do. I'll take my suitcase and sleeping bag to the apartment, but I'll come back at 7. Between now and then, there are a few things I need you to do. Ashley's face lit up with hope. Yes, anything. Just tell me what you need. Justin's eyes locked onto hers, his tone firm. First, I want a written apology. And I mean a real one. No excuses, no justifications. Second, you need to tell Eric to never contact you again. Make it clear that if he does, there will be consequences, for him, and possibly your company. Third, I want a list of reasons why I should stay married to you. He paused, his face darkening. And lastly, you'll need to call Carol and end things with her. Permanently. I don't want her influence in our lives anymore. That's non-negotiable. Do you understand? Ashley nodded quickly, determination rising within her. Yes, Justin. I'll do everything you asked. I'll have it ready by 7. Justin gave a small nod and left, his face guarded. As the door closed behind him, Ashley took a deep breath. Her mind swirled with thoughts of the tasks ahead. Breaking ties with Carol would be the hardest, but surprisingly, the idea brought a strange sense of relief. For the first time in years, Ashley realized how toxic Carol's presence had been. She picked up her phone and dialed. Carol, she said, her tone firm. I need to tell you something. She paused for a breath before continuing. Listening to you was the worst decision I ever made. Because of you, I almost lost my family. Don't call me, don't text, don't email. And if I see you in public, don't even look at me. We're done. Before Carol could respond, Ashley hung up, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. Next, she dialed Eric. Eric, she said curtly, I'm ending all contact. My husband has made it clear that if you try to reach me again, legal action could follow. And if I hear from you, I'll be calling your wife. Do not test me. Eric tried to argue, but Ashley cut him off and ended the call. For the first time in weeks, she felt a surge of satisfaction. Finally, she sat down to write her apology and list of reasons for saving her marriage. Memories of her life with Justin, once taken for granted, now felt precious. The words came easily as she reflected on their years together. Her guilt deepened as she realized how close she'd come to losing the man who had always stood by her. At exactly 7, Ashley sat waiting, her heart pounding. When Justin walked in, he didn't have his suitcase. His face was unreadable as she handed him the papers, her hands trembling slightly. Justin read through her words in silence. His eyes misted over, and for a moment, Ashley thought she'd reached him. She moved to embrace him, but he held up a hand. "Ashley," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "I can see you put a lot of thought into this, and it's impressive." He sighed deeply, looking at her with a mix of sadness and affection. "But I don't think you fully understand the damage this has done. I can't just erase what's happened or pretend things can go back to the way they were. I still think the divorce might be necessary." Ashley's face crumpled as her legs gave way, and she sank to the floor, her sobs filling the room. "I've ruined everything," she choked out. "I've destroyed our family." Justin knelt beside her, his voice soft but firm. "Now you understand how I felt." He stood and turned toward the door but paused, looking back at her. "During the separation, are we allowed to see other people?" he asked, his voice gentler now. Ashley looked up, confused, her tears subsiding for a moment. Yes, I suppose," she said cautiously. Justin's expression softened. "Then, what are your plans for Friday night?" Ashley blinked, unsure of what he meant. "What do you mean?" she whispered. He smiled faintly. "If we're supposed to be figuring things out, would you like to have dinner with me? Maybe catch a movie?" Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You're asking me on a date?" Justin's smile grew slightly. "Yes. I think our old relationship might be gone, but maybe we could try starting fresh." A rush of hope flooded Ashley's chest as she jumped to her feet, her heart racing. "Yes, Justin. 1,000 times yes."